Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, pick guardian.
Jared Brandon, Gibson Brands.
Hey everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death that you are listening to our show.
That's
it's
right.
so exciting.
It is.
It is. It's going to be a good one because we've got somebody pretty special on our show. He's a Grand Poohbah patron. That is the tippy top level of our patron support, and we are.
Is he speaking to us from
grateful.
his penthouse hot tub?
Sweet.
He might be.
I am officially in my Poohbah penthouse with my Poohbah fez on and sipping on a Poohbah drink in my hot tub.
Nice.
And I really appreciate you guys giving me that for being a Poohbah.
Well,
You
you
bet.
know, that's what it's all about.
So, Poohbah, who are you?
My name is David Kamminga, and I live in Northern California.
People who have been listening to the show for some time have heard that name every single time, and
At least once or twice.
At least once or twice.
That's right.
It has been our honor and pleasure to be able to do that, and we're very, very grateful for all of our patron support on Patreon, and especially our Grand Poohbahs are at a level that is pretty extraordinary, and it really does kind of blow our minds because this is something we're doing out of. I don't want to say out of love. That's a little squishy, but this is a passion project. It's not a project. It's a passion pursuit.
I love it.
Ooh, that sounds like a movie from like a
70s.
some kind of crazy 70s movie.
Passion pursuit.
Yes. Anyways, so I was trying to think of all the people that might be in Passion Pursuit. that took me down a crazy thing. So Charles Bronson would probably be in Passion Pursuit, but
Eric Estrada.
But Eric Estrada?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No.
Burt
Yes.
Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds.
Okay.
Paul Michael Glaser.
Yeah. And Bronson would be the bad guy, and Burt Reynolds would come in and save the day in Passion Pursuit. Okay, anyways, that was whatever. I don't know. Anyway, hey, people who are listening right now, you want to hear what we're going to talk about. We're going to do the guitar show. We're going to talk about stuff. Tony Baloney, what do you...
What? Do you want me to tell you what we do
I
here?
would love if you did that.
Okay.
Tell me.
Let's just say we collectively like to talk about gear,
That's right.
specifically boutique gear. Even more specifically, things like guitars and amps and pedals and accessories and all the good stuff. Sometimes we talk to very special patrons. Sometimes we have 101s where we learn stuff.
Yeah.
Those are Jared's
We
favorites.
got another great one coming up. I've been talking with Rob Chafe,
Chaffee.
who's not here tonight. He's still,
What the heck?
we're trying to work him into as many as we can.
He's an amp genius.
He really is, and we're going to have an open-ended Ask Rob Anything kind of show about amplifiers. So be on the ready. I'm going to send out an invite to do that, just like we did with Jared.
Yes.
Gotta do that, man. Gotta be a part of that one. I can't wait to hear his answers.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
That's going to be a good one.
So we are going to have a great time talking together, four guys who love guitar stuff, talking about guitar stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. We're going to find out David's backstory, find out his more about his support and involvement in the guitar community, which he is an avid supporter of a lot of you builders he is bought from, and we're really happy about that as well.
Including myself.
Okie
Yeah.
dokie. We got a couple of announcements real quick.
Todd, don't make us wait any longer. What kind of announcements do you have?
Well, we need to thank Rode Mics for for providing the Rodecaster Pro machine, the machine that does all the
Dream Machine.
The Dream Machine here. Yeah, couldn't think of anything better right there.
Yeah.
And then we have the Procaster mics.
And the reticulating arms.
Sure. And so we're really grateful to Rode for providing that to us. Thank you so much, Rode.
Thanks, Rode. This is great stuff.
Always nice.
We use it at least once a week. and
That
it
is
never
true.
fails to impress.
Hey, you guys need to send me one of those articulating arms down here.
We will.
Why don't you just order
Maybe.
your own?
Or you can order your own.
No,
we'll
you can
sort you
send me
out.
from.
We'll sort you out. So I also, I love reading good letters.
know you do.
Here we go. We got another great one.
Read it.
Okay, this is from Tyler Jackson.
Hey, Tyler.
He says, hey, Knobs, I've been listening to you guys for the last couple months, and I love the show so far. I'm in the middle of putting together a guitar that has been lying around in pieces for a while now, and have a question about pickups. If we only had a pickup expert.
I wish. Maybe one day we will have one on the show.
I think he went to Gibson.
You might have. Let's see here. He says, the guitar is a 2005 Deluxe Mexi Strat. I have 2 P90s and a humbucker housing, and I'm curious about putting them in an HSH configuration. My question is in regards to the middle pickup. Since the P90s are both RWRP,
Reverse wind, reverse polarity.
thank you, Tony, can the middle pickup be RWRP, reverse wind,
Reverse
polarity, as well, or will that create something horrific?
So
Not done yet.
Oh, not done yet.
Also, I am more than happy to hear any criticism of this idea or recommendations for something that might pair nicely with the P90s. I don't see anything like this often. Most of the time, if I see a P90 and a Strat, it's just 2 of them. Any thoughts on this? I would
Yes.
love to hear what you guys have to think about it, or let me know if there's an episode that talks about it. Thanks for doing what you do. One day I will have my name read on the thing. You just did, Tyler King.
Yeah. So let me ask
Wait,
you this:
sorry.
what's the configuration again?
Just wait. Hang on. So, Tyler Jackson's question was, because we have to go back to it because it was a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
It says I have 2 P90s in a humbucker housing.
Yep.
And I'm curious about putting them in a humbucker single humbucker configuration.
Except technically, they're all singles.
True.
They're all single coils.
My question is in regards to the middle pickup. Since the P90s are both reverse wound, reverse polarity, can the middle pickup be that as well? Or will that create something horrific?
Well, it'll make noise.
Okay.
I mean, typically, and Jared, I don't mean to step on your turf here, but typically, these particular pickups, the bridge position is standard wind, standard polarity.
Which
and
is
the
just a
neck
regular
position-
old pickup.
And the neck position is reverse wind, reverse polarity. Let's just talk about a 2 pickup system. If you use those 2 in the middle position, you get, in effect, a hum canceling kind of sound. So basically, the hum goes away. If you put on a 3-way switch, bridge position, you'll get 60 cycle hum. Neck position, you'll get 60 cycle hum. Middle position, the hum goes away. And it's because of the wind of the pickup and the polarity of the pickups or of the magnets.
If you have a 3-way?
With a 3-way. I just wanted to simplify it. Now, if you apply the same thing and he wants to put a reverse wind, reverse polarity Strat pickup in the middle.
So it'd be P90, Strat, P90.
Correct. And so what he will
is
get
weird.
is, okay, let's just say with a 5-way all the way down, bridge, 60 cycle hum. Up 1 in position 2, that is a bridge and middle hum canceling. Position 3, middle position, hum. A position 4, which is neck and middle, you'll get hum. Position 5, hum. So it's not a really good solution. I think probably the best option in that case is either to put a dummy coil and wire just the 2 P90 outside pickups and not worry about having a middle pickup. Because if his goal is to eliminate hum, it's not going to work real great. I mean, he could put the middle position in with a standard wind, and then that way in position 4, he would get hum canceling there.
Or if he had, are you guys still there? Good, my computer. If he had and I know Gibson does this, they have a 3-wire system in their, I think, what are they, P94s, which are P90s and a humbucker. You could actually just, if you switch the white and the black wire, which is the start and the finish of the coil, you can actually coordinate it with that middle pickup, whether it's no matter what it is. So it just takes some wiring and experimenting.
Well, the other thing that Gibson did that was kind of cool, if you remember, like on the Blues Hawks, there's actually a dummy coil buried in the middle between the pickups so that you can get hum canceling. I mean, the middle pickup, if we'll call it that, which it doesn't really get much vibration, it's there just to provide hum canceling. And so in position...
It functions, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
7K with 2 ceramic magnets.
Yeah. So I think, I guess to answer his question, probably the best thing to do, if he has right now 2 P90s and a humbucker casing, one is reverse wind, reverse polarity, just go with that. And don't worry about the middle pickup.
Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I was getting a hot dog. What are you guys talking about?
We're talking about RWRP.
It's Pickups 102.
That is a complicated question, actually.
Well, I think ultimately it depends on what the goal is. Is the goal to reduce hum or eliminate hum?
Or is it to just be experimental?
Or to be experimental? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, good question.
Answering these questions for Tony and I is really fun. But I mean, if you really want to make this happen, I highly suggest you get in contact with a local guy that can actually put his hands on this stuff and help you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good solution. All right. Well, thank you so much to Tyler Jackson for sending that in. He sent that out on Instagram, and we love getting those messages. So thank you very much. All right. Let's find out what's going on in our music worlds this week. Tony's going to lead us off, and we'll hop over to David.
All right. Well, among other things this week, I was noticing on some of my feeds, there seems to be a new outbreak of counterfeit strings, of all things.
Counterfeit strings.
Yeah, a year or two ago, there was a lot of talk about counterfeit elixir strings, which are expensive strings.
Yeah.
And somebody was basically making cheap copy strings, reproducing the outside packaging and everything. And these were generally available on like Amazon or on eBay.
It's such a weird thing because it's not, I mean... That's not a huge...
Well, it gets weirder because, okay I can understand, $20. Your $20, $25 set of strings. Yeah. Okay, it's like counterfeiting $20 bills. Okay, I can see that.
I guess so.
A lot of work.
But this latest deal is with Diodario, which, I mean, on a bad day, you can get a set of Diodarios for $6, $7, $8. And this has gotten so bad that Diodario has actually put out they put out a press release, and they also put out how you can tell if it's a counterfeit set, and they also have a live checking the product code.
Wow!
You can go online and see if it's a legitimate set or if it's a counterfeit set. And again, I guess the big key here is if it sounds too good to be true. It probably is. So these are again sellers that you can find on eBay or on Amazon, different things like that. And basically Diodario is saying check the length of the strings because generally speaking they use 39-inch strings. Generally the counterfeit ones are shorter. There's a certain feel that a genuine set of Diodarios has. If you run it between,
how do they describe that?
They run it as if you run a string through your thumb and forefinger,
oh my goodness,
it should be smooth, supple, and consistent in feel.
Compared to what?
Inferior strings may feel rough and sticky. Too much wrap tension can make the string feel stiff and lack of flexibility. I guess the big thing... That is
very subjective.
Yeah. Well, I guess the big thing is, if you're going to buy strings, get them at a known retailer.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy them online...
If it's too cheap, it's too good, it's going to
be...
off.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to buy online, there's plenty of great places that you can buy that are, legitimately stock strings. You can ask that company, are these actual, in this case, D'Addario strings? Who knows? They might switch to a different brand next week.
They're gonna have to start doing like baseball cards and put like the hologram stickers
Well,
on them.
they actually have stuff. There's a certificate of not really a certificate, but a quality control code that they put in all the things that the counterfeits don't have. But yeah, I guess know where you're buying your strings. If it's a legitimate store in your neighborhood, chances are they're buying them from D'Addario. If it's online in a known place, chances are, if it's like a musician's friend,
especially if it's like a giant pack of them or something, and it's like crazy cheap.
Yeah. It's strings should cost $5, $6, $7, $8, no matter what. I mean, even in multi packs,
bar minimum.
So, and personally, I prefer like Kurt Mangan strings because I know if I call Kurt, he's going to make them.
Right.
And they're going to be legitimate strings. So I guess know your seller, and if you can buy direct, buy direct. There's String Joy. There's a couple of other places.
String Joy makes them, but I mean, there's some good ones.
So don't get sucked into a deal that sounds too good to be true, because chances are you're going to be disappointed.
Yep. SIT right here in Ohio.
That's right. SIT in Akron.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Always bring in the goods. David, how about yourself?
Well, I've had quite an interesting guitar week. Last Wednesday, I played a gig at a winery. I live in a town that has, I think, 14 wineries in it.
Wow.
And they had a fundraiser for a schoolhouse project, and they asked me to play acoustic. So I brought some acoustic guitars and got to play. That was pretty nice because it's been about 2 years since I've done that, or a year and a half.
Now, with that many wineries, how does anything get done where you live?
Yeah.
Well, I think they probably go in moderation.
Yeah.
But so that was what I did Wednesday. Then this weekend, I went down to the desert to hang out with my number one guitar hero, Alan Johannes.
Oh, wow.
At a concert that was also a fundraiser for the Joshua Tree National Park.
That's like Dr. No's best friend. I don't know if
yes,
you knew that.
and we're going to talk about that when we talk about my story here. But I got to go down there and go see there was actually 2 concerts, and I got to hang out with Alan and Dave Catching and Nick Oliveri, the former bass player for Queens of the Stone Age, was there.
Nice.
And it was just a good time because people have been dying for live music these days because it's been virtually gone for a year.
Wasn't he playing with the Dwarves?
I think so, yeah. Or with Mondo Generator also.
Yeah.
So, and then today I came to work and my coworker had showed up. I have 2 guitars sitting in my office right now that they need to be worked on. One is a 12-string. I think it's some off-brand, but it needs a new nut. And the other one is it looks like a Gibson. It says it's a Gibson J45. The only thing weird about it is it has 2 screws on the truss rod cover, which I know Gibsons don't have that. And the truss rod itself has a flathead screw adjustment. But other than that, the guitar looks authentic. It has a broken headstock. So I think I'm going to try to glue the headstock back together, clean it up a little bit, and then give it back. It's my coworker's son's, both of the guitars. He's just a kid learning how to play. So I think I'll take a shot at fixing those.
Wow. Ambitious. That's cool.
Yeah, I call myself a amateur lutherie.
Well, those things scare me.
It's one step into becoming a professional.
Yes.
Yeah.
How bad is the break?
Well, it's kind of at an angle, so it's going to have a big spot where the glue is going to be, and it's not all the way at the nut. It just sort of shaves back about maybe it starts in the back maybe an inch behind the nut, and it just goes up at an angle. And I kind of held it up there, and it kind of sits nice. and I've got some tight bond glue and some clamps. I just hope that'll hold it. I don't know.
Well, tight bond will work. What you might want to do though is, do you have glue syringes?
No, but that's a good idea.
Go. I mean, you can get them online, or if there's like a woodworking store somewhere nearby. And what
Or
you
just
want
get a big mouthful of it and then use a coffee straw. And
No.
don't do that. Don't do that.
But what you'll want to do is, if it's not a complete break off, you'll want to open up the crack.
Oh no, it's completely
completely
broke
off. Okay,
Yeah,
that changes it then. Yeah, because sometimes you just get like a partial break, but it's always a good idea to work in some thin down tight bond first in all the areas. It gives it a little more working time, and it allows it to penetrate into the wood a little bit more. But yeah, tight bond is as good as just about anything. Some people swear by like a quick set epoxy or something like that. And the problem you run into with epoxy is
hard.
Well, it's not so much the hardness of it.
I was way off.
It actually is actually kind of stays kind of gummy.
Oh, that's what I meant by too
by
hard.
too hard you meant gummy.
Yeah.
But you know, tight bond has a certain gumminess to it too. But
Yeah.
I think it's a more, you know, I guess it's kind of what the standard of what.
Well, I
what
was
most
going to say
repairmen
use some egg whites and a zip tie.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
You can do that.
Nah, don't do
I
that.
bet that would hold it.
I don't think so.
That's what they
It
did
just
in
needs a
medieval
little
times.
extra protein. That's all.
Yes, indeed.
Well,
Well, you get that from the yolks.
yeah.
That's right.
All right. Now we learned something about eggs.
On this week's egg.
Yeah,
podcast.
David, that's a pretty interesting
That's
week so far
ambitious,
there.
yeah. So take your time, clamp it up,
Yeah.
and use wax paper between, if you want to sandwich boards, to kind of hold
Oh,
everything
good
in place.
idea. So it doesn't stick to the.
So wax paper will not stick or to.
Oh,
if you're
right.
Like wood
Okay.
stuff. So there you go. Some tips.
Perfect. Jared, about yourself.
Oh, wait until you hear about this super exciting.
That's what we're doing.
We're waiting.
So, so I was not on the last podcast. Sorry, everybody. But I was actually home packing a U-Haul up. And I packed up that U-Haul and drove it down to Nashville on Father's Day. And
That's
unpacked
Father's
that.
Day.
Yeah.
It's German for Father's Day.
That's right. And unpacked that U-Haul, took it back that evening. My stepsister's stepson, so I don't know what you call that. I guess he's just my step nephew, right?
Step.
Anyway, he used to take guitar. His name is Alec Carper. He used to take guitar lessons from my dad before my dad passed.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a good buddy with him, and I'm really glad they had that relationship. But he came and helped me unload, and then I said, put all the guitars in this room over here. I brought 2 amps. I brought a Black Star and Drew Foppy's Fop Star, Los Dos, so I don't drive the nice old lady next to me nuts. So,
Yeah, nuts.
But after a while, I didn't know where he was, and then
He was loading them back into his car.
Where would he be? Where would I be if I knew somebody had cases and cases of guitars? And there he was. He was like sitting Indian style, getting a guitar out, playing a little bit, putting it back, then getting another guitar out. And I really like that because it's, the poor things, they sit in the case most of the time now because I'm really trying to acclimate to the new area and the new job, and I don't know. It's just it was nice to see him, and
Soon you'll be playing at the Bluebird Cafe.
No, I'll watch somebody else play there.
No, I think you should do it. Do it.
Tony, come down and we'll go out there, and then we'll watch somebody else do the job.
What about
what
Todd?
about me? What the
Todd's
heck is
hurt.
that?
Todd's feelings are hurt.
I guess you can.
You
come
better
too.
apologize.
I want to
Plenty of
come
room
too.
for
Yeah.
both of you. All 3 of you clowns can stay here if you want.
Yeah. So is that the end of the story? I just didn't know if there was some kind of zinger that you're.
One
waiting.
more thing. I like guitars.
Okay.
All right. That's it. No, that's about it. I'm just really The entertainment center that I tried to put together last night really kicked my ace. It was really hard to do.
Okay.
I hate putting together that stuff.
Was it from IKEA?
It may as well have been.
Yeah.
Baloney, come down and help me set this stuff up.
All right, you got to pay my airfare.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that was a good story. Thank you
What
for
about
sharing
you,
that.
Uncle Todd?
Well,
Hey, Todd, what about you?
So if you recall, I was talking about how in previous episode, not the last one, but not the last one, but the one before it, mentioned how I got to go shopping for a coworker, got to get some stuff online.
Yes.
I was very excited. It showed up at the house yesterday.
Nice.
And man, that was one heck of an unboxing because Sweetwater really,
Did they put the bag of candy at the bottom?
I couldn't even find it because there was so much pack. Like they did such an amazing job of packing that guitar.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Fender does a very good job as well on this one.
Yeah.
And then that was stuffed in. So that box was stuffed inside a whole other box that had. Man, I mean, it was like a 6 foot tall box for a 3.5 foot tall guitar.
Yeah, but did you get the candy?
No, there wasn't any.
There's candy in there.
Isn't. I looked for it.
It wasn't my niece then.
I had one time I didn't get candy. One time I bought a Hughes and Kettner amplifier, and there was no candy in the box.
Sweetwater, get on the ball.
I know.
I figured they were just looking out for my health.
COVID. Because of COVID.
Well, so anyways, what came in that? I got the Supro Delta King 12. That's a little 15-watt amplifier, a little 12-inch speaker. And so I brought that in the studio today, and Tony got to try it out.
I done tried it out.
And the Fender Squier Starcaster Burst. That's a lovely guitar.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I had, when Fender reissued that, I think it was a Mexican-made one, I had one, and it was twice the weight, seemingly, of what this one. No, you don't want the weight. I mean, it's a semi-hollow guitar.
Yeah.
This one, I think Squier did a tremendous job of replicating the original weight.
It's a beautiful guitar. It really is.
It's a cool guitar.
It's
got the wide range humbuckers. Very nice. They did a great job. Now, I don't believe those are.
And honestly, right out of the box, because the whole reason I got it sent to my house is because a lot of times you get, guitars will show up and they're not in the best. So I've had an Epiphone or two show up like that where I'm like, this needs a lot of extra setup. And actually, Drew Foppy just did a video talking about some that he's been getting in that have not left the factory so great. But this showed up and I tuned it up, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that thing at all.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful guitar, and it sounded great. It played great. The neck is fantastic. The finish on it is out. I mean, I was really, really impressed. So, and that was a $399 guitar on Sweetwater. That's ridiculous for free shipping. That's a killer deal.
But you didn't get the candy.
That's true.
If you out there do not have a salesperson, ask for Sunny Brandon. That is my niece. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh, okay. We can do that. All right, everybody. She's going to get flooded with calls now.
Todd, did you ask for Sunny Brandon?
I didn't.
Oh.
She works hard. She loves her job. She works hard. She'll do
Sunny
the job
Brandon.
for you.
All right.
Sunny. Sunni. Sunny.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do that, Jared, but I already have a guy.
A lot of people
I think he's going to buy.
To go to hell and go to Sunny.
Well, I think right now he's driving his new Ferrari around.
Yeah,
exactly.
That is true. David, you buy a lot of stuff.
The Kamminga commissions.
Exactly. Yeah. So, anyways, that was a really good time. We got to play it here at the studio, and
I think it's a good buy.
And that Supro amp, that's a very versatile amp. Boost, drive, reverb, master, volume. It's got a lot to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might need a bit better.
I would do a speaker upgrade.
Speaker upgrade.
That's just me.
But that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's also a crazy, stupid deal for a 15-watt tube amp. It's...
Yeah.
Anyhow, so thank you to all of you who shared that right now. Jared?
Let me get a little bit of that.
You okay?
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
All right, David Kamminga, Poohbah extraordinaire. Tell us your 4 on the floor.
Okay, well, I if you would have talked to me a year or two ago, this would have been easy. But right now, I feel like I need 40 on the floor. But I do have it narrowed down to 4. My number 1 is going to be Morley Power Wah.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm talking and I'm the old chrome ones.
Yeah.
That was actually the first pedal I ever had. I bought one off my friend for $30, and that was back in the 80s. And so about 2 years ago, I bought a new one off for Reverb. So I do have one. I also have on my pedal board, I have another kind of wah. But the one thing I wish they would do on a wah pedal is put a light to tell you if it's on or off.
Yeah.
Because, man, sometimes it's on and you just wonder why your guitar sounds all honky. But the Morley Power Wahs, that's a good one.
I bet you could get that modded pretty easy.
Yeah, I was thinking about learning how to do it myself, but
Yeah.
that's on my
Just
list.
need a
of
drill and a
millions of things.
flashlight.
Yeah.
We'll get a hold of Drew Poppy. He might be able to do it for you.
Well, I did. Years ago when I had one, the little light burned out and it quit working. So that's when I learned about the little Morley bulbs.
Yeah.
And I used to go up to the music shop and buy like 5 or 6 of them just to have on hand whenever the bulb would burn out. Because it works off of the optical sensor.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
My number 2 is the.
Oh, wait. Hey,
Oh.
sorry. That's a power wah. Why? What's power about it?
Well,
It's got power in it.
it increases the gain. So when you push it down, it just gives it some boost, and it's just it's a really nice pedal.
Okay.
They don't make them like that anymore. Not that the wahs now are bad, but now a wah is just going to kind of remain the same. Wow. But that power wah is more like a wow. It gives you more distortion. And,
so it's like it's kind of like responsive, like if you're digging into it. But
yeah,
when you hit I know, but instead you're doing it with your foot.
Yeah, and the one I bought back from my friend in the 80s, when he bought it off of a guy, he went to the guy's house, and this was before Craigslist and all that. I don't even know how you found people back then, but he went to buy it, and the guy had a Marshall stack, and he played No Quarter from Led Zeppelin with it. And my friend Gil told me, yeah, it sounded just like No Quarter, so that's why he bought it. But then years later, he sold it to me, and I kept it for a while till I had a bunch of my stuff stolen back in the 90s, and that was one of them. So, all right, number 2.
Number 2, yeah.
Number 2, the Copper Sound Triple Graph.
Oh boy, you got one of those, huh?
Man, I got so lucky on that.
Did you get the yellow one or the black one?
I got a yellow one.
Wow.
Ah.
And here's how it happened. I'm sitting there scrolling through my Instagram feed, and I saw the Todd Novak's hands and a white package.
Oh yeah.
And he did the fast motion, opened it up, and he pulled out this pedal that was the triple graph. And as soon as he said octave, I was like, oh, I got to have one of those. Yeah. Because I love an octave pedal. So I made a comment on it, and the Copper Sound guy said, yeah, I asked when they're available. He said, they're available right now. So I went right over to Third Man Records, ordered one. Okay. And then they said it shipped, and I got it about a week later, and I got number 004.
Wow. Whoa. That's awesome. Because that was an exclusive run. I think they only did those ones in the yellow.
Yeah, they made 100.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's really cool, man.
And it's an amazing pedal. You could either make it latch or just momentary octave up and down. And I run
and stutter. It has a stutter too.
The stutter, but you can also put an effect in there. So what I did was I bought one of the Third Man plasma pedals to put in that. So when I push the stutter, it gives it the
gives it
that plasma sound.
That's cool.
And that's you get a lot of people's attention. I remember I was jamming with a friend of mine once. I was just playing a riff I made up, and I hit my octave pedal, and he kind of gave me the look like, "Wow, what's that?"
Yeah.
So octaves they're really, really powerful when you're either you're playing a rhythm part or a lead. It makes it sing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if not for nothing else, for those of us who really are into the gear, we love the gear, it's like that's such a collectible piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course I stuck it on my Temple Audio board, so I stuck those things on the bottom of it, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. How about number 2?
Or number 3.
That meant number 3. By number 2, I meant number 3. You know how this goes.
If we do that, I get one extra. No.
You know what? You're a Poohbah. You get one extra.
Okay. So number 3 is a Keeley compressor. That thing it's just so powerful, especially if you're driving it into a tube amp. And it has that switch on it for single coil or humbucker. Mm-hmm. And when you can adjust the power and how much compressor it has, and that really can get you some good dirt on a tube amp very, very well. I mean, I could almost pretty much leave it on all the time.
Wow.
Because you could play, how tube amps are. You could play soft, or you could dig in and get more. That just kind of enhances that ability for me.
That's
so
great.
That's one of my top pedals. Even though I know a tuner and a volume pedal.
Yeah.
The utility pedals, a compressor is kind of like that, but this one here I think is in a different class than a regular compressor.
Well, there's a reason he sold 700,000 of them.
Yeah, they're awesome. Well, I bought 2 of them.
I'm not even joking about that number.
Yeah, well, I have 2 of them because I bought one, and then I'm gonna bought one for a second pedal board. So
that's cool. Now, have you always been like a compressor guy, or did you get into that later? I'm just glad you figured it out.
Well, years ago, I remember back in the 80s, I was young. I didn't really have much money, and whenever you'd go to like the music shop and you'd see something on sale that's like, oh, I can afford that. So I remember buying a compressor, and I didn't know what the thing was, and I came home and I plugged it in and played it, and I said, oh, that's what those country western guys use.
Yeah.
And so I kept with it, and I figured it out that you can either do that with it or you can use it for other things. But as I've grown as a guitarist, I've learned what you could really do with a compressor to enhance your sound, not just get the sound effect of it. So where it's just it's kind of a modest alteration instead of the extreme. That when you hear a country western solo playing on a Stratocaster through a compressor that's all dialed up. It's like I don't know what they call that, but I've come a long way since then.
Well, that's cool, man. What's number 4?
Okay, number 4 was a tough choice, but I went with one that I do really love this pedal. It's a Walrus Audio Mako D1 delay. And the reason I like that is because it's so versatile with what you could do, because you could make the delay flange or fade, or it just has a lot of parameters you could set, and it's kind of a commentary on the modern pedal builders, where these guys out there designing these pedals, they have these great ideas. So they take just a delay. We're gonna repeat a note. Well, what can we do with that note when it repeats? And then they add multiple effects to it. And that one's just I do have the whole trilogy of those Mako pedals, but that's the first one I got, because I think it was the first one that came out. And I've just really enjoyed playing with that. It's a good pedal.
Awesome. Do you have any other Walrus pedals?
I have, I say it's a slow, but I think the umlauts over the O makes it slur.
Slur. Yeah.
So I have one of those, and then I have the R1 and the ACS one. And that slur pedal, I almost picked that one for my 4 on the floor too, because I like that one when you're just playing ambiently and I think it's the right button you can hold down and it will just keep repeating whatever's playing with it at the time, and then you could play over it and it just stays in
like
the background.
Electro Harmonics Freeze.
Yeah, or a Game Changer Plus.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And I just, sometimes these pedals like the Chase Bliss Mood pedal. I played that at NAMM a couple years ago, and it was like, oh my God, this pedal's cool. So I took a picture of it, and then later I got one, and that pedal, it does so much when you play with it. I don't really know, like, I'm going to turn this knob and see what happens. I don't know if I don't hear a sound in my head and know how to make that happen with it. I just use it as like let's see what happens, because I guess I just have to spend more time with it.
Yeah. Well, all right. And your super duper Grand Poohbah bonus round number 5. What about that?
Oh, well, a tuner. No, I'm just kidding. I would probably say I might go with a JHS Super Bolt, because that's a good overdrive pedal. I got one of those, and that's been my favorite overdrive out of all the ones I've tried.
The Super Bolt. What is the Super Bolt? I'm trying to remember what the Super Bolt does.
I heard about it from one of your guests that was on their 4 on the floor. Every time you have somebody on and they do their 4 on the floor, I always look up those pedals.
Yeah.
And the Super Bolt, he told me, the guy that talked about it said it was like a Telecaster into a Supro amp. And that's what I said. Oh, I got to have that.
It's like an amp in a box kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the Jimmy Page Led Zeppelin 1 pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that and your extra one. And that's one of our favorite things to do is hear what people are playing.
Yeah. Well, like I said, every single, and I've listened to probably everyone. When I first listened, I went back to the beginning.
Oh boy.
And I've listened to almost, I have a few I haven't got to yet, but every time you have a guest on the show, I look up their page and I look up all their 4 on the floors, and I just see what they are, because that's how you learn about stuff.
All right, David, you've mentioned that you've listened to a lot of our shows, and you joined December 18th, 2018. David Kamminga, this is your life. No, I'm just kidding.
You recognize this voice.
Yes.
It was a cool winter day in December.
Yes. So you've been hanging out with us for quite some time now. And that's
right.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
My first episode was the Dr. No.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, because I have a Dr. No pedal, the Alan Johannes 1111 pedal, which was a very, very exclusive pedal. But I've been an Alan Johannes fan for years. So when I knew he was doing that pedal, at first I couldn't buy one. But then what he does is he'll say he's only going to, for that pedal, he made 11 times 11, 121 pedals. That's it.
Yeah.
But he makes them in batches. So
right.
I happened to catch the last batch, and I got that pedal, and so when I heard he was going to be on the podcast, I was from his page. I saw, I'm going to listen to that. So I have an hour drive home every day. So on the way home, I listened to the Dr. No interview, and then when I got home, I texted the show on the Facebook of the show, and I had a conversation with Jared about my experience with that pedal, how I bought it, and I blew it up. I didn't have it for a half hour.
I remember that.
And, I paid like $400 or $500 for the pedal. I waited for like 3 months to get it.
Yeah.
And I finally got it, and I quickly took it out of the box. I went and instead of plugging it into an amp, I plugged it into a DI, into a mixer, put the headphones on, and I couldn't really it sounded like it was starving.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, maybe it's not getting enough amperage from this power supply. Let me grab another power supply. So I went in my box of wall wart power supplies, and I pulled one out and I looked at it. It said 9 volt, and I couldn't find the polarity on it. And so I'm looking. I said, well, it's fine. And I plugged it in. I plugged it into the pedal, and the little lights went, beep,
Oh, no.
and it was dead. And then I looked at the pedal again. I'm like, oh, it says AC on it. So I emailed Dr. No, and I told him what I did. And, you know, he's such a nice guy. He said, well, you know, don't let anybody touch it. You send it back to me, and I'll fix it for you and send it back. So I packed it back up and went down, and I went to ship it. I took it to the post office, and I did it when I was going out of town, and I remember dropping it off and leaving. And then I waited. I figured it would take about a month to get there. And so after about 6, because you have to send it back to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So I sent it
On a
and
clipper
waited.
ship.
Yeah, that's right. And so I remember I went back to see the eclipse in South Carolina, and I came back, and then like a month later, I sent him another message. Hey, did you get the pedal yet? He said no. So I went to the post office, and I asked the lady at the post office, hey, here's the number of my, you know, the customs tag. Can you check it? She looked at it and said, wow, this is odd. It's still in San Francisco, and it's been getting scanned every day. So every day this package, and it did this for like 2 months. It got scanned every day. And so I have a friend that works for the post office. So I sent her a message, and I gave her the number, and she would look into it. And she said, it's kind of weird, but it's stuck there, but she couldn't really do nothing. But she did give me a number to call. So I called this number, and I talked to a guy, and he said, oh yeah, that's stuck in a loop. This is literally what he said was, somebody at one point is going to notice that, hey, I've seen this package before, and then they're going to pull it out and it'll be on its way. But that never happened. And then he gave me another number to call, and I left them, and they said, just leave a message, they'll call you back. So I called the number, left a message, and then like 2 days later, I got a call back from a guy that said, hey, I just wanted to let you know your package got on a plane last night headed for the Netherlands. And then I think the very next day or 2 days later, Dr. No messaged me, said he got it. So he fixed it, and I asked him, what is the power requirements? You know, how many amps does it take? So he sent me a European power supply with it and a couple T-shirts, and
Wow.
you know, and so I told Jared that story while we were just, you know, texting back and forth. And ever since then, I just thought, wow, man, these guys are pretty cool. And so I just kept listening to the shows, and I started to notice that this was at a time in my life where I was really starting to work on my own guitars. I mean, I was tearing my guitars apart and rewiring them, and I built a fretless guitar out of a Squier Bullet. And I'm doing all these guitar projects. At the same time, I'm listening to your show, and I just feel like I'm just absorbing all this guitar knowledge from it. So that's how I got started on your show. And
You got knowledge out of this?
yeah.
That's honestly, that actually thrills me to my soul core, because that's the whole reason that we did the show. So
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean, besides, you know, the
So I could
101s,
learn
you learn
selfishly.
about you could learn about speakers, pickups, and then plus you learn what pedals to go buy.
Yeah, I'm really stoked that you found something in us that you liked. I mean, it means a lot to us. We got a whole bunch more that we need to learn about you. Like, how did you get it into the guitar stuff in the beginning?
Okay, so when I was a kid, I was always into music. When I was, I think, 6, I remember my parents taking me to accordion lessons, and they bought me a little organ that was, you know, plastic, and I used to sit in my room and just play that. I didn't think I was writing songs, but I would sit there, and I knew how to play chords, and I just learned what chords went together without having any musical knowledge. And my grandma had a Hammond organ at her house that I used to play. And then when I got old enough in school to go into band, I played the trumpet, then I played the drums, Then I played the clarinet. Then I played the saxophone, and I played the drums again. And I just was always into music. And I had my stepdad played the guitar, and he had a guitar, and I learned how to play a G and an E and an E minor and an A minor and a D, and I knew how to play a B, but it was always too hard. So I just always dabbled on the guitar, and in high school I had a couple of friends that had a guitar, and I remember one of them let me borrow a guitar for a while because I remember having it and I remember playing it, and I have a picture of me with it, but I was never really serious about it. And then when I was 20 years old, I was at one of my friend's house. He was having a party, and there was a guy there that was playing his guitar, and he was playing all these cool rock songs off the radio. And I know one of them that he played was Roundabout by Yes. And that's the only one I really remember. I don't remember the other ones. But it was right then and there, I looked and said, man, I want to do that. So the next day I told my friend Pete, whose house it was, I said, Pete, I have decided that I am going to be a guitar player. And so he said, okay. And he went back into his bedroom, into his house, and into the closet. And he came back out in the living room where I was sitting, and he had this old Decca acoustic that had the top was caved in because the bracing was broken. And it was really a piece of junk, but he gave it to me and said, you can have this to learn. So I took it home, and I just started playing that guitar. I mean, I played for hours, just every day after work. I'd come home, play the guitar. And I would put on Led Zeppelin albums, and I'd try to play along with them, try to figure it out. And then I remember my next stepdad. He had I don't know how he got it, but he had an electric guitar that he said I can have, and it was a Hondo Strat copy. And I didn't even know it, but the neck was warped because my friend Gil used to tell me, hey, there's something wrong with your neck. I can't set your intonation for you. And so I had this crappy acoustic guitar and this crappy electric guitar, and I scrounged up a crappy amplifier, and that was what I had for the first probably 3 years. But I just kept with it. I had a strong passion for it, and I just wanted to keep doing it. And then eventually my friends and family, because I always made them listen, hey, listen to this. And they started to say, hey, you're getting pretty good on that thing. So I kept getting better and better and better. And then one day we were kind of we were having like a party at our house during the day, and it was a weekend, and my friend Gil, who he played guitar also, him and I played a lot together, learned a lot that way. He was coming over, and I said, hey, bring your guitar over. And I thought he was going to bring his new guitar, but instead he brought he had a Gibson SG he brought over that he was selling. And that's the one he brought. I thought he was going to bring a guitar to play with us, but he instead brought the guitar to sell or something. And my stepdad looked at it, and he looked at me and said, hey, you want that guitar? And I said, oh, yeah. And so he paid, I think he paid $350 for it, or $300. And he gave him the money. And then all of a sudden, at that point, I had a Gibson SG, a nice guitar, and I had saved up my money, and I got a PV Bandit 65. So I had a good amp and a good guitar, and then I just started to get better and better. And, I got really pretty good at it, and I learned how to play songs. I mean, back then there was no YouTube or any of that. How you learned was you would read the guitar magazines every month. I'd go down to the Tower Books and buy all the guitar magazines, and I'd just read through them. And then anytime you had a chance to play with somebody that was more experienced than you just learned from them, learned from playing with them. And sometimes they would teach you, like I remember the first guy to show me the pentatonic scale. He goes, here, because I was just trying to play it, and this was at some of my friend's house, and it was this guy's brother. He had all these guitars hanging on the wall and stuff, so he showed me how to play a pentatonic scale. He said, now, if you just learn this, you could play a solo, for blues or rock in any key. You just learn what it is. And so I would just pick up on all that knowledge and just keep going. And, I got to the point where I probably could have and should have been in a band. But the one time that I was kind of approached with somebody, I was more into the, it's just the music and the art. I'm not going to be a commercial sellout. But this guy, I was on a bowling team, and one of the guys I bowled with, son, was a drummer, and some of my friends knew his sister, so they introduced me to this guy to start a band. And I'm talking to him, and one day he tells me, it doesn't, and this is in the 80s, if you can remember what music was like then. He said, the music doesn't matter. What matters the most is the look. And he wanted to have the big hair and the leather jumpsuits and all that, and I wasn't into that. I was doing it for the music. So I just said, no thanks. I really don't want to do that, and I just kept to myself. I mean, I would do an open mic night once in a while, but I never really, played for people. And then, a few years later, I got married and had a kid and kind of quit playing for a few years. And then when I got divorced, I thought I'm going to get back into guitar. So that's when I started. That was in 2001 and 2002. And that's when I started playing again. And I started, collecting guitars and expanding my knowledge. Because back in the 80s, when I said I wanted to become a guitar player, what I had in my head of that was I'm a guy that knows how to work on his guitars, how to fix stuff. And being a guitar player, I think that's part of the deal is how to set your intonation on the guitar. You might know how to make resolder something or, do some basic guitar skills. But I never really did that until, just recently. But when I started playing again, I remember, eBay was real popular. And so I would I could go buy a guitar on eBay. So I remember I went and bought a Les Paul Firebrand, and I was kind of disappointed in it, but I mean, it was a guitar. And
where were you disappointed?
It's just because I was going after I had that SG, which was the SG, a 1979. Mm-hmm. And so I was looking for one of those, but I couldn't find one. The closest I could find was a Les Paul that was the same line. That was the Firebrand. So I bought that guitar, and it just didn't sound as good as the SG. It didn't feel as good. The neck, it just didn't feel that good. And all I remember is I wanted to change the tuners on it. I just wanted to change it. And one of my friends talked me out of it because he said, no, if that's a vintage guitar, so if you change it, you're going to ruin the value. And so I said, well, then I'll just sell it and I'll buy a new Les Paul. So that's when I bought that was in 2011. I bought a Les Paul Studio. And I remember I had to wait about a year and a half for it because that's when the DOJ went. Remember that they went into the Gibson factory and took all their ebony and rosewood. It was supposed to have an ebony fretboard, and I'm sitting there waiting for it, and I finally got it, and it didn't even have an ebony fretboard, which was kind of a disappointment to me. But it still was an okay guitar. I still have it. I have Brandon wound pickups in it now.
Natch.
And that was like what started me. But then I slowly started to collect more guitars, and in 2016 I added mandolin to my repertoire. I was cast in a play because I'm also active in a theater.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm able to. How I started with that was in 2012. Some of my friends were doing Shakespeare in the Park, and they were doing a melodrama version of Measure for Measure, the Shakespeare play, and they needed a musician. So I said, okay, I'll try that. So I went to the rehearsal with them, and the director said, well, what we need you to do is when the villain comes out, you got to come strum a villain chord. And when the hero comes out, you got to play a hero chord and make chords for people.
Oh, that's fun.
And so I thought, yeah, I could do that. So
So what chords did you play? I'm guessing D minor for the villain.
Yeah.
And G for this hero.
It was kind of a weird D minor because I like to do a little bit of dissonance, even more than just a minor offers. But the funny thing was that one of the people in the play was like the head of the music department at the local college here. And, she obviously has perfect pitch because I played the whole time. I had my guitar in drop D. And so she said, "Why is everything you play in the key of D?" but how that worked was the director told me to do the chords, but then she said, "It's kind of stupid for you to walk out and do that and walk back. So you're going to have to stay out here the whole play." And
so you're like a minstrel.
And if you're out here, it would be awkward if you weren't playing some music. So all I did was for like the 6 weeks of rehearsals, every night, every weeknight, I went to the Shakespeare in the Park rehearsals, and I would watch each scene and kind of write a song for it. And I would just have like these little things. I was just making them up, and a lot of them turned into songs I still play. But I was kind of like just providing a musical soundtrack for the play. And, the play was like 2.5 hours, so it was a lot of music. But, it didn't have to be exactly the same every night. It could be a little different, but I took the time to make little notes, and what I did was I taped some 3x5 cards on the side of my guitar so I can kind of remember how the flow of the play went and what was coming up, so I knew to play the right songs. And that's how I got started in theater. And then I did a couple more where people knew about me and invited me. And then in 2016, I did a theater play of Midsummer Night's Dream. And that has music in it. And so the first thing that they actually precast me to do the music. And so I went and met with the two directors like 3 or 4 months before the play. And then one of the things, the main theme of the song was the lullaby, where the Princess Titania goes to sleep and her fairies sing this song to her while they do this dance. Well, I had to write a song, and so they told me to go meet with this singer that was the other fairy. Her name was Caitlin, and she had this beautiful voice. So I went over to, I've never met her at all. I went over to her house, and I brought my Tascam 24-track recorder and a guitar and I still love that thing.
That's cool. Yes. Yeah, I had one of those.
Yeah,
that was the only thing everybody.
Well, shoot, back in the day they were really expensive, but they got down to like $400 or $500 where it's no big deal.
Oh, now they're expensive again.
Yeah, so I went over there, and her and I, we had the script, and we did this, and I happened to, like a week before, the director's husband told me that they wanted me to like play music at the beginning of the play when the four characters, I won't get into the whole Shakespeare, but the four characters come in street clothes, and then the Puck, which is like the kibitzer funny guy, he's up in the tree on the stage, and he sprinkles this fairy dust on them, which was really glitter, and they fell asleep. And so he wanted me to play this lullaby then too. And then he kept saying he wanted me, if I've ever heard the song Silent Lucidity by Queensryche, which, yeah, I've heard of the song. And I listened to it for some inspiration, but it sounded like one night, sometimes it happens to me, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll like have a song in my head. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I just go back to sleep, but sometimes I've gotten up and I used to have to go in somewhere where there was a recording device, but now I just do it on my phone. I'll just push record and I'll play it, and I'll save it in the name of what like the tuning was or what key it was, so I remember. And I had written this song, and I used DADGAD tuning a lot, and I had done this thing. It was like a partial song wanting to become something. Well, I just thought that would be good to become the lullaby. So I went to this Caitlin's house, and I played that, and she started singing. She kind of sang the words to it. We kind of adjusted it a little, and we recorded it on the 24 track. And then I took it over to the director's house, and I put the headphones on. I said, "Here's what we did. Listen to this." And she was practically in tears. She liked it so much. So I started doing that, and then they started telling me they wanted me to play they called it a lute, which which a lute is really a guitar. To
Where
be
are you on that one, Jared?
A lute is really a guitar. So
the headstock's bent like all the way back.
Yeah,
like an oud or something. So they wanted me to play on that kind of guitar. And so I'm like, well, I don't have one of those. I just have, my guitars. And so they said, oh, well, there was a young girl in the play. They had a lot of girls that were the fairies. And the one was this really talented girl that did all the choreography. And she was like, 17 years old. And she's choreographing a play and, phenomenal talent. But her stepdad, I think, purchased a guitar, a mandolin for the show. And they gave it to me, and I looked at it, and it was one of those novelty plastic mandolins, like, when you go to Hawaii, you get the plastic ukulele. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, this thing, you can't even tune it right. So I gave it back to him, and then I knew a guy that I borrowed a mandolin from, and when he handed it to me, he said, okay, here's how it works. He showed me the strings. He said, it's just an upside down guitar. So here's a G, here's a D. And I said, oh, okay. So you just have to think upside down and you can play it. And so I expanded my musical knowledge to mandolin. When I did that show, I had to write all these songs with it, and which was kind of nice because I didn't have a preconceived notion. I just started playing the thing, and whatever came out.
That's awesome, man. You got to do all these cool instruments and stuff, and you just it sounds like you really stumbled into that in a good way.
Yeah. That seems to be the way it happens. I mean, I wrote, there was about 5 or 6 songs I wrote, and then I had one song left over that really didn't fit the show. So I just kept that as a song. And then what I did was I took instead of playing it on a mandolin, you flip it upside down, but the strings are go high to low. And then I played it on a guitar, and it took on a whole new.
Oh, wow.
It took on a whole new thing. It's the same chords. And I've actually recorded that. And that song I called Black Rain. And because it's real ominous sounding, but if you listen to it on a mandolin, it's real kind of pensive-y and kind of light. But when you hear it on a guitar, when I recorded it, I just plugged the guitar into a preamp and a tube preamp, and then right into the Tascam 24 track, and that was the cleanest guitar sound I've ever heard. It was just so clean and deep and throaty. So
that's cool. So aside from lutes and mandolins and all kinds of other stuff, what is your...
Don't forget the oud.
The oud. What is your, I guess, your number one guitar? You have all of the things that you have, you get to take one of them. What is that?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask something like that. Well, I almost feel obligated to say my custom shop Gibson 1960 historic, just because that's such a nice guitar.
You almost feel obligated, which means that you needed that was an honorable mention. What is your?
Yeah. Well, okay.
House is on fire. Unfortunately, what do you grab?
I would grab that.
Not you, Jared.
Well, that one's worth the most money.
Yeah, that's
Mine
why I
is
would
no
grab
object.
it.
What is the one that tugs at your heartstrings?
Okay, so I mentioned Alan Johannes earlier, and Dr. No. Mm-hmm. I have a Alan Johannes signature sparkler by Dream Studios, and to me that guitar, it's shaped kind of like a Jazzmaster, but it's completely custom made, and it has Seth Lover humbuckers in it, and it just has it doesn't sound like any other guitar I have at all. and it means a lot to me because of the artist that it's made for. So I would have to say that's probably my number one would like to save guitar.
That's cool.
Nice.
That's very cool. It's sort of like almost like a thin line offset with the hollow body, semi-hollow in the top.
Right, and I actually took that with me down to the desert this weekend, and I had him sign the back of the headstock for me.
Oh, that's really cool. That is very cool.
And I had him sign my Dr. No pedal too.
Oh, that's even better.
That's even better because that is, we're not going to get into it right now, but I would encourage you all to get a better understanding of, we were talking about the Dr. No pedals and everything, but that one has some pretty deep meaning to it. There's a ton of symbolism in that pedal. It is a work of art and a work of like real emotion that went into that. It's pretty special.
Yeah, it's quite a pedal. I mean, you just look at it and say, wow.
Yeah. So, David, it's really interesting to hear somebody basically using their everyday guitar talents and stuff to get into a theater. That's pretty rare. What are you doing anything different now? I mean, I know that was before. So, what are you doing with your guitar gear and everything now?
Yeah. So these days, I mean, now I'm hoping to get back more into some of the ambient acoustic music I play at wineries because they're starting to open back up that they've been closed. Mm-hmm. But the other thing I've been doing is I've got a drummer I've been working with, and he's a really good drummer, and we started playing together about 3 years ago, and we kind of had to put it on hold a little bit and stuff, but we've been getting back together, and we just mic'd up all his drums, and I set him up with a studio kind of at home so he could work on ideas, because we're actually writing music and putting something together, and then we're gonna get some more musicians to collaborate with us.
Oh, that's cool.
So what I do now is I go over to his house, and I bring my recording gear. I also have a Universal Audio and a Focusrite. I have brought the Tascam over to his house, but I've been bringing all that because now I have to get 10 drum mics into my computer. So I have two audio interfaces hooked up, and we plug in all the mics, and then that leaves me enough to plug in a guitar and eventually other instruments and microphones that come in, and we're just working on writing songs. I've got a lot of partial songs that I just have that need to be developed, and I find the collaboration of working with somebody else on it is, he'll tell me, oh no, that's too much there, tone that down, and then and he's actually written some lyrics. We do have one song complete with lyrics, and I know that my riffs and little guitar parts will have to be modified to fit the words of a song, and it's just somebody that I really work together with when we always open our sessions with like a blues or a rock jam, and it's just great to have somebody you click with that if he plays a drum fill that just leads right into something else I'm going to play, and then I'll play something and I can hear him going into a different drum thing, and we just play off of each other. And so we're gonna put something together. We're definitely going to make an album. And we want to do some, gigging, not extremely, I don't want to be a working every weekend, have a gig every weekend thing, because, I still have the same passion I had when I was 20 years old for this instrument. Mm-hmm. And if I make it to where it's every weekend, it's not going to be that anymore, because I do have a full-time job and a life that I have to maintain. It's just I want to keep doing more with the music, and get something recorded, and then gonna need probably a singer, maybe a second guitar player, keyboard player, bass player, all that, and maybe get a gig every couple months or every month just to go out and play for people. and
cool, man.
just see where that goes.
I mean, as long as you're pursuing a passion, I think that's such a respectable and healthy thing to have in one's life, regardless of whatever that is. If you're gardening or painting or whatever, but it's extra cool when it's guitar stuff. So
Yeah,
I applaud that.
Yeah.
And
it could be anything, but
it
as far as I'm concerned, guitar is it, man. I love those things.
Well, speaking of that, you have been very instrumental in our own personal, our little guitarosphere, our microcosm within the Guitar Knobs world. But I know that you support a lot of builders out there, and I guess one thing that I'd like to ask, I need to make sure, Tony.
Yes.
Tony was giving me a look. I didn't know if I was cutting you off or anything.
What? No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Wake up, Tony.
Yeah.
No, I'm here.
I wanted to find out if, within this guitar community, is there anything that you would like to either say about it? That's the first question. The second part of that is, what would you love to see, maybe come out of it, develop, change, anything like that?
I would say what I see the most, I think I touched on it earlier, was all these we'll stick with the pedal builders for this thing. Mm-hmm. These guys just have these ideas that you just how did you think of that? And they come up with these pedals that are just incredible, and they do so much stuff, and they allow you to be so creative that it's just, and I don't know, it's just going to keep going. Because I remember back in the 80s, you had pedals, and they weren't that big a deal. They all did the same thing. And I remember we all wanted rack gear back then. And so when I had a chance to get back into it, I bought all the rack gear. And then I'm looking around saying, wait a minute, nobody's using rack gear. They're using pedals. And you start looking at all these, they're just incredible. From when you guys have a guest on the show, you just look at all the stuff they're coming up with, and it's just so they're so creative that it allows us as musicians to be creative. And just kind of something maybe I thought of. I don't know if it's that even that good of an idea, but something I thought of was if you had a guitar that, say, had a built-in some effects built in that was not like some cheesy crappy thing, but something that was actually a really nice guitar that had a boost in it or an overdrive in it, so you could just plug that into your amp and you could overdrive your amp with just your guitar. More so than you can now. I think that's something I'd kind of like to see.
That's cool. Yeah, right on.
And I don't even know that might not even be a good idea. I don't know. But.
Well, you have the open floor right now, and if you'd like to say anything to the guitar community, for the guitar community, of the guitar community, did you like to close out with anything? Yes, I want to say to the new guitar players out there, stick with it and take your time and just learn it, because you might not think you're that good right now, and you might think you got a lot to learn, and you do. But if you just stick with it and just keep playing, it's a thing that can bring you just many, many years of enjoyment. And to all the experienced players out there, just keep doing it. And when you get a chance to help somebody out that's just starting out, give them some help. Yeah, that's solid. Give them some good advice, or I've given away, 3 or I don't know how many now, but I've given away some acoustic guitars to young people that are just starting out, because they can't afford one. And if I have one extra, I've given a few away to help a young person. That's awesome. David, we really appreciate you sharing your story. We're thankful that you are in our personal little guitar community, and glad that you are doing something that you absolutely love to do, and that you continue with that. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I kind of thought you were going to ask me who my favorite knob was. I don't ask that. That would be me. It's a setup.
Wrong.
David, who would be your favorite knob?
See?
Well, I love you all equally, but I do have to say, I've hung out with Jared at the NAMM shows a couple times. So
that was a really
You
good
can't
time.
not like Jared.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
not to like?
Jared's actually pretty cool, and he's got a congratulations on your job at Gibson. That's
Thank
like
you.
a dream.
It
And
is.
I have hung out with Jared at NAMM, and we even went to the big Winter NAMM and spent the whole day just kind of walking around and talking to people. And
That's awesome.
And I had a lot of
I
fun
really
with Jared.
enjoyed that. Yeah, Wolf with Wolftone was with us too.
Yeah, I liked him
It's a
too.
really
He's a
good
pretty
time.
cool guy.
We went up to the Gibson as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, I was really glad that you were on, David. I had a really good time.
yeah.
Yeah,
and
that
we'll
was
see you
great.
again soon.
Yeah, let's do that again. Except you'll
Well-
be in the Gibson booth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be in the Gibson booth. So speaking of that, Jared, I think it's you're up to bat here, buddy.
Yeah, and I'm going to hit a home run because, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the little game that Tony Baloney loves to play. It's called Would You Rather?
That was almost as good as Tony's on the
Yeah.
last
That's
one.
not nearly as good as mine.
You're dreaming.
Was that through a phaser pedal?
Yeah, it sounded like.
Yes. It was called The Throat. Okay. John Jackson, he just spits them out, and we love him for it.
Jackson.
So, you are choosing a forever guitar.
A
So
forever guitar? What is that?
A forever. I have a couple of those, but what it is, it's a guitar that you're never going to sell. So this is not an investment. You will never sell it.
No.
You will find two beauties. This is what happened. You found two beauties of the same model that look, feel, and sound identical.
Identical.
So they're like, there's the star and then there's the stunt double. They both have the thing. They are even the same price. One, but here's the difference. One is a regular off-the-line vintage model, and the other is a current hand-built that is tastefully aged to a similar appearance.
Okay.
What
So one's
would-
actually
would
vintage,
you rather-
but one is brand new, never been played.
That's right. Would you rather have the old one or the new one?
Interesting. All right.
Are they Les Pauls?
It doesn't say.
It just doesn't specify.
Yeah. And so we'll do model
It doesn't matter what they
unspecific. Yes. Tanya, what are you doing?
Vintage, hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I have to say, I was talking to someone about this not too long ago, and basically, it is so difficult to recreate tone, aging, the overall sound of a vintage instrument out of new materials. At the end of the day, you still have a new guitar. It looks and maybe sounds close, but there's nothing like 50, 60, 70-year-old wood on a guitar, old pickups. It's just, there's something special. I mean, my gauge was always, if I can play a guitar that's as old or older than I am, there's something,
Yeah.
just something special about that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, same price, same sound, same everything, vintage all the way.
Okay. All right. This is tricky because if you start to stray from any kind of specific models, that changes kind of radically. I'll get into that.
Well, David Kamminga asks us, hey, are these Les Pauls? Okay. Yeah. Say they're Les Pauls.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that? Well, that kind of.
That didn't help.
Well, I mean, there
Seals
is
the
a
deal, actually.
well, no, there's variance there.
Uh-huh.
There's variables. So
Do we want to do that? Do we want to?
No, I don't think. I think we should keep
so.
it.
Keep it open.
Keep it.
Yeah, keep it open.
friendly.
Keep it up to your interpretation.
Keep it friendly.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here, Jared.
hands down, vintage all the way. There's no. I would. That's not even a thought. There's nothing to think about. I mean, Tony hit it when he was talking about the old original wood. I I have and have had other vintage SGs. SGs are my thing. If you go back to the old podcasts, and I talk about SGs a lot because that's my thing. I had this. My favorite, I think the best sounding one I ever had was a 62 SG Les Paul. It was an original one, and it had the it wasn't my ebony block that I have now, but it had the old crusty sideways vibrola. For some reason, that particular guitar rung out. I mean, it was just louder, and it just felt different. It just sounded and felt. You just can't replicate that. And my ebony block Les Paul SG that I have now, the 62, I actually played that out last October. And I watched a video, and it was significantly louder than the other Gibsons that I have. So I had a 79 Gibson, I had a 2005 Gibson, I had, just a random mix of Gibsons. But that guitar was just simply louder and more, I don't know, vibrating. So a lot of people, you'll argue with some people to death about old wood. To me, that's a see it to believe it type of thing. And I believe it because I done saw it. I saw it.
All right. David, how about yourself?
I'm going to have to go vintage also. I don't have the experience of Tony or Jared playing old instruments. The oldest I've played was probably early 70s. But I do have a historic custom shop that was, I think they tried to replicate the thing, but I don't know how close that is. But I believe what they just said about the old wood, how it just has a certain resonance to it, and these days you're just not going to get that.
Yeah, when you think about it, let's take a guitar that was made in the 1950s or 1960s even. They're still using old growth lumber versus what's, that might have been 250 years old at that point.
Right.
Most of the wood that's being harvested today is probably 50 to 80 years at best, sometimes even less than that. Mm-hmm. So there's just something about, the wood dries out, the wood resonates better, it's a cellular structure. It's as much as they've tried with roasting maple and things like that to kind of replicate what happens over time. There is still absolutely no comparison, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think there's a picture of Jimmy Carter with a guitar that was made out of a tree that he once planted.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that.
Wow, that is interesting. Okay, I guess I got to round that out. Make it unanimous because at first I was thinking no, this is I want a brand new custom one that no one's ever played. But if we're talking about it's sort of like a reproduction of a vintage one with Eastwood guitars, as an example, they're taking old vintage style guitars that we like, but that don't play as well because like the old ones are kind of can be wonky. And they're, he's kind of they've revived a lot of those models, and they play really well.
Yeah,
that was the hitch that I was talking about earlier. But if this is a forever guitar and someone's gifting it to you, and it's just look, you're gonna have this the rest of your life, make it count. Yeah, you got to go for something. You got to swing big and get something rad. And I like the idea that you can have something in your hands. It's like, wow, what's the story behind this? What clubs did this play? What music did this make? I think that's pretty neat. So that's a really good one. Thank you for sending that in, Mr. Jackson. You've got a whole bunch of those, and we're going to keep plowing through them. So thank you. Tanya?
Yeah.
What, you got some things to say?
I got some things to say.
Let's do it, man.
How about some of these?
No, we already did that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to do that last week, Jared.
Yeah.
It was fun.
That sounded really good. It sounded really good.
Wait till you hear the episode. It was awesome. Oh, okay. Awesome.
Do the thing.
At this point of the show, Todd, there's a very special group of people that we like to thank. These would be our executive producers. If you're wondering what an executive producer is, it's a person that supports and is a patron of this podcast. How do you become one? Well, it's very simple. Go over to patreon.com/the guitar knobs. There you will find various levels in which you can participate and become a sponsor, a patron of this very podcast.
Indeed.
There's great thank you gifts like T-shirts and barefoot buttons and keychains. Did I say keychains?
All kinds of stuff.
I said keychains.
Pins and picks and doodads and
All
whatnots.
the good stuff. But there's one thing more when you become an executive producer. David Kamminga, what is that?
Say
You
it.
get your name read on the thing.
That's
right.
right. Your name read on the thing. That's what I'm going to do right now. So special thanks to these executive producers. Mr. Tom Brazen, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Chris Carney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Ken Sayers, Brian Robison, Michael Senchuk, Stefan Lamb, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lathrop, John Englund, Tyler Bray, Brad Partridge, Chris Heidel, John Esterly, Doug Gann, Justin Jones, Brett Alexander, James White, Matt Hart, Bill Gola Guitars, Richard Kendall, Ty Harmon, John Jackson, Jason Roush, David Rando, Douglas King, Gary Koopa, Lumberjack Components, Mark Garton, Elad Mizrahi, Mike D, and Trevor Gunberg.
Right on.
Wait, Todd. Wait.
You had me at the first wait.
In addition to these executive producers, there's a level of executive producers that's, let's just say, a step above, a cut above, if you will. These are the folks we call our Grand Poohbahs. These Grand Poohbahs, as we've just witnessed from David Kamminga, are up on the upper suites. They have individual hot tubs. They drink special Grand Poohbah drinks while wearing their fezzes. So special thanks to these Grand Poohbahs. David Kamminga!
Hey!
I know that
All
guy.
right.
Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, Science of Sound, Cody Foster, Sean S. Tommy Manasco, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Tim Novak, Tyler Rhines, James Pennington, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, Johnny Morales, Mel Sanders, and Bob Crouch. Welcome, Bob Crouch.
Yes, right on. Thank you so
each
much.
and every one of you.
Humongous help to our show. Thank you very much.
It's really nice to hear that list growing longer.
Oh, I get
Todd's,
a thrill
it's
every
Todd's
single time.
favorite part of the show.
Honestly,
It is.
Every time a new one comes on, I am just so excited, and I make sure I share that
absolutely.
with Tony and Jared
Yes.
immediately, and it's great. It's great.
We love it.
He really does.
All right. Well, David, we need to say, I guess, is there some place that people can hear your music or something?
Yeah, well, you could find me on Instagram and on Facebook. It's just my name, David Kamminga. And I do actually have a link to my Reverb Nation on my Instagram bio, and you could hit me up on Facebook. I'll be happy to send it out. I got maybe, 15, 20 songs recorded just on there, and I'm perpetually working on an album that should be done one of these years.
Nice.
But for now, I do have lots of songs up there if you want to hear them, or you just want to talk about guitars. You could find me in the Guitar Knobs chat group on Facebook or anywhere. I'm happy to talk guitars with anybody, anytime.
Love it. Tony,
Yes, Todd.
where can people find you?
Go over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the things that I have to offer. You can order online, but by and large, what I do is custom work. So shoot me an email. Let me know what you need, what you want, and I will make sure that it happens.
Awesome. Jared?
PickGuardian.com.
You can also reach me by Pick Guardian.
What?
Because Tony will just.
I'm going to set you up an email, Jared, so you can actually say
No,
that.
yeah,
Jared at PickGuardian.com.
No,
You can reach.
seriously.
You can reach Jared.
Go to the thing at the
yeah.
Guitar Knobs Facebook thing and
Yeah.
all that kind of.
He's
stuff.
on that.
Not through your Gibson.
No.
No. So I guess maybe, I don't know if we'll keep asking you that, because then you can get a hold of Jared or I. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
can send
I like
an
that
email,
better.
Todd@theguitarknobs.com. And you can also DM us on Instagram at Guitar Knobs. We would love to hear from you. Send in what your story's about, gear you love, builders you love, whatever. We're happy to hear from you.
Absolutely.
David Kamminga, thank you so much for supporting our show.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. Can I just say one more thing?
Sure.
Yeah.
If I worked at Gibson, I would owe them money at the end of the week from buying all the guitars on the employee discount.
I'm sure.
David, let me know. Come to Nashville. We'll go to the Gibson garage and I'll hook you up, brother.
Okay, I'm there.
Awesome. All right, everybody, have a great guitar week and subscribe.
Yeah.
Who can turn a world on with her smile?
No, you're supposed to have a Fez that has built-in headphones.
Whoa.
Break me off a piece of that.
Kit Kat Bar.
He hurt himself.
Oh, you can make me sound good like all the other people. By Sacramento.
Okay, cool.
A Sacramento!
I hear a Jared. Todd? Todd, are you with me?
I am.
Can you hear me, Todd?
I can.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.